Sports Writers of the Year. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right, Riley. How about you?
Awesome. I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day out. Can't complain.
Where are
Oh,
you based out of?
I'm in North Carolina. I'm in Winston-Salem. Mhm.
Okay.
So I'm go to Wake Forest University. So
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Can we get started with you giving us a brief kind of background and introduction as to what you're doing right now currently in the world of sports and some of your background experience?
Well, so I've been covering the NBA for about 11 or 12 years. I used to be based in Chicago. I covered the Bulls for a few years. I've been,
Awesome.
I've written for, I my first gig covering the NBA was with USA Today back about in 2013 or so. And then, I've written for NBC Sports, Bleacher Report, The Athletic early on in its existence when it was still just a startup. I've been back in Portland where I grew up for about 7 years now. And about 2 years ago, out of some frustration with kind of the landscape of the industry and the job market and kind of the local landscape of coverage, as I'm sure as somebody like yourself who's still in school and still kind of learning about what the industry is, it's not in a great place right now as far as jobs that are out there. And so I kind of decided to sort of take myself out of that market a little bit and do my own thing and kind of start a Substack to cover the Blazers. And so I did that about a little under 2 years ago. I started the Rose Garden Report, which is my own subscription-based newsletter. Now it's on the Substack platform to cover the Trailblazers, just kind of as an everyday beat writer. And so I've been doing that for this is my second season now, and
Super cool.
it's been growing. It's been going great. It's certainly an interesting 2 year span to cover that particular team, but it's been the most fun that I've had in my career.
Awesome. That's super important, to have fun and do what you love. And I think that's awesome that you started up your own kind of thing and you're doing it.
Mhm.
With that being said, do you like working underneath like your own being self-employed versus like another platform, like or somebody else's business?
So there are pros and cons to it. The pros are that I have full autonomy over what I write. Like I don't like I'll give you an example. So this past summer when the Damian Lillard, prolonged trade saga was going on,
Yes.
if I were with a major outlet that was just totally beholden to, we have to get this much traffic every day, or we have to hit this thing because it's a trending topic right now.
Yeah.
The way that I don't know how closely you were following it, but the way that whole thing played out, there was really no new information about the whole thing the entire summer. He requested the trade on July 1st. The trade happened on September 27th. Between then, there was really nothing going on. And so every, couple of weeks or so, there would be some new leak that would come out that was just some reiteration of the same things that had been out there that whole time. And as somebody who has full control over what I write and is only really responsible to myself and my subscribers,
Yeah.
I could look at some stuff and, if something that was legitimately newsworthy happened, like when, I think in late July, the NBA sent out a warning to Dame's agent, Aaron Goodwin, about the way that he was publicly kind of trying to limit the market to only Miami. So that's actual news. I'll write about that. But
Yeah.
when there's like you know, 2 weeks into August, some person on one of the TV shows or on some podcast says that something about like whether Miami's trade package is good or not, or all this stuff. It's
Yeah.
all just like relitigating the same stuff, and it kind of blows up on Twitter. As my own boss, I can look at that and be like, this isn't actually anything. I don't have to write about this if I
Yeah.
don't want to. So I basically get to decide what I do and don't cover. And I can kind of, if I decide something is interesting, I can just kind of pursue it and not have to run it by like, oh, my editors say that this is going to get the traffic on this day, so we have to do it on this day. I get to make all those decisions. Now, the downside of that, and something I would tell to, people like yourself who are still in school, still trying to figure that out. A good editor is important.
Yes,
When
sir.
I say like I don't have to worry about like my editors saying this, that's not. I don't want it to sound like I'm like some person who's just like anti-editor. I don't want any kind of feedback. The it not there have been times where I've missed having somebody whose job it is to help me bounce stuff off and how help me
Sure.
you know workshop an idea and make it better. So there's that. So that part of it I've definitely missed. I definitely miss having some of the resources to be able to travel for stuff. Like I've had to pay for a lot of that stuff out of my own pocket, which means I've had to kind of be very judicious about which travel I do. I'd love to be on the road with the team more, but obviously when you're paying for all that stuff yourself, you only have a certain amount of budget to do that. And then there's also just kind of annoying like administrative stuff that you have to deal with doing stuff on your own too. Like
Yeah.
if I have a subscriber whose credit card gets declined or something, I have to be, the finance department and the IT
Yeah.
department, and I have to email a subscriber and say, "Hey, your credit card is declined. Can you, change your info so that I can get my $8 a month?" Like it's that
Yeah.
stuff behind the scenes stuff like that takes away from the actual work
Yeah.
is kind of annoying, but I would say overall the pros definitely outweigh the cons.
Well, that's awesome. And I'm sure that can get to be a lot at times, juggling all different parts of your own business when you're used to having people do it for you.
Right.
So that's awesome though. Good for you for doing that. With that being said, I kind of want to know about like what it's been like reporting for the Trailblazers, and how you kind of really got started with that per se, and if there was any like struggles you ran into or you run into reporting for the Trailblazers versus when you worked for the Chicago Bulls.
It's they're two very different markets. Chicago, obviously, you have, and I went in there as kind of a newcomer. I kind of still had to find my way where, they have, Casey Johnson, who was at the Chicago Tribune for many years at NBC Sports Chicago now, but he's been on that beat for 30 or 35 years or something. So he knows everybody. And then,
Sure.
the Chicago Sun-Times has somebody. ESPN had a dedicated reporter for the Bulls at the time, which they don't anymore, but they did at the time. And there's just being a market like Chicago, Chicago is in the same category as like a New York or an LA or a
Yeah.
Boston, where there's just a ton of media outlets at the local level that, and this was also back when, the Bulls still had, the like Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah, those types of, it was like that team still. And so they had a lot of national attention.
Yeah.
Portland's a little bit of a different situation just because it's a smaller market. There's not a whole lot of local media, and frankly a lot of the legacy media outlets here don't really put a lot of effort or resources into covering the team, which is the
Yeah.
only so the soccer teams, the Timbers and the Thorns, they are getting bigger, but out of like the major professional sports leagues, the NBA is we don't have a baseball team, we don't have a football team, so it's really just it's a Blazer town, and there's
Yeah.
really not a whole lot of you know coverage every day, and there are a lot of people that want that, and so I kind of saw I saw a hole in the market, and B,
Yeah.
there were some uh I'll just say organizational changes and front office changes that made it easier for somebody in kind of the independent space to sort of break through and get a little bit of a foothold in the last couple of years. So I think I kind of started this at the right time. There was like a
Yeah.
confluence of events that kind of made it possible, but it's definitely, I don't think I would be able to have the success that I'm having here doing this if I were in Chicago.
That's awesome. So you totally think that this like kind of differentiates you from other sports writers and broadcasters out there?
I'll say this. I don't know how many of these people that you're having these conversations with about winning this award are doing it with a Substack. I
Yeah.
don't think there's, I haven't like actually looked at the full list and what outlet everybody is with, but I would say that I think that's probably not, that's probably in the minority, which I think is going to change. I think as,
Yeah.
as the industry, you see what's happened with You see what happened with Sports Illustrated. You see what happens with all of these outlets, and even some of the bigger local pay, like even like the LA Times had layoffs recently. Like
Yeah,
more and more as the legacy media outlets kind of consolidate and these jobs get cut, people don't want to read stuff about their favorite team less.
exactly.
It's just that the companies that own these newspapers and these magazines and these websites and these major outlets that have been kind of the go-to places for decades
Yeah.
are spending less money on it. And so the people who have the, established, credibility on certain beats and the relationships and the whatever organizations and the connections and whatever else can really, I've kind of, and like I said earlier, I kind of decided to do this because I figured that taking myself out of the job market, so to speak,
Yeah.
was the way to go, because that's just that I don't think is getting better anytime soon. And so I
Yeah.
think it's been interesting to kind of see the shift in the industry. I've seen a lot of other people also kind of go this way and have some success with it too. So it's been fun to watch. It's been interesting to watch kind of that shift.
Well, that's awesome. And that's probably just, I don't know. I think it's awesome that you're doing it on your own and that you got it all going and it seems pretty successful. With that being said, I want to ask you one more question. And I want that to be, what are your goals and aspirations and what do you have planned for the future for your career?
I just want to keep this thing going
Yeah.
and keep it growing and get it to a point. I'm still not 100% at the place where I have enough subscribers that it's 100% financially sustainable as like a totally self-sufficient long-term thing. And I would like for it to get to that in the next year or two. And so what, if I can do that, the work that I'm doing right now, I feel like is the best work I've ever done. And I'm having a lot of fun with the independence and the autonomy. It's just getting the business side of it up to that level and up to where that needs to be over the next couple of years. I would say that's kind of my biggest goal right now.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah, good to talk to you, Riley.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your week and congrats again.